working lives to bettering the health of others, it can seem somewhat surprising that we often neglect our own health. Doctors Health SA has been running for a number of years to address this issue. Dr. Roger Sexton is an active contributor to the medical profession and has practiced as a procedural rural GP in Adelaide Hills for 30 years and is currently working in part-time urban general practice and as a rural locum, as well as in executive health. He is also a clinical skills tutor at the University of Adelaide, is past presiding member of the Medical Board of SA, and a special interest in addressing the health of doctors and medical students. He is also the inaugural Medical Director of Doctors Health SA. He enjoys sitting on 2 national boards, those of MARGA as well as the National Prescribing Service, and is currently studying an MBA at the University of Adelaide. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Roger Sexton, Medical Director of Doctors Health SA.
Thanks, Lockie, for the invitation to speak. And there's nothing more important than our health, and that's the message I'll give you today. We can only help people from a position of strength. We can only help people when they're well, both physically and mentally. And a lot of doctors get laid by the wayside. They bury themselves in their work. They forget about the real basics of how to stay healthy. I think the interest we've been showing in Doctors Health over the last few years is paying off because doctors are responding to the fact that it makes sense to be healthy. One of my roles is I do executive health checks on some of the executives around Adelaide, and their attitude to their health is completely different to what we're seeing with doctors. It's quite extraordinary, their attitude towards their physical health. Some of them are marathon runners, they do really good stuff to stay well, and they realise that linking their physical performance and their mental health is critical to their executive performance, and that's the message I think that the profession need to know. We're not bulletproof and resilient to the point where we can do absolutely anything and abuse ourselves or mistreat ourselves in the course of our work. It's really important to have the basics in place, so that's what I want to talk about today. The healthy doctors do practice better medicine, and it's just a critical thing. The expectations of the public are based really much on what they see on telly and how they regard their own general practitioner and other medical specialists. And expectations of doctors over the years has changed enormously from being male and a life outside medicine, reading entomology books, to being particularly dedicated and, of course, male or female now, which is very important, having a choice of doctor. And it's very important to be aware of what the public's perceptions of it are. One of the perceptions is that we will be on top of our game, we will be energetic, we will be lively, we will be sharp, we will be mentally on top of things, well connected. And often the image of doctors, when you see photographs of doctors, photographs sitting in surgeries, or they often look really downtrodden, they look a bit underdressed, they look a bit dowdy, they look a bit unfit and tired. It's just a very bad image, so we need to reverse that image around. Let's talk about the health of doctors, because the data there is quite good. The physical health of doctors is actually pretty good. But only about 2% of doctors smoke now, compared to about 19% of the rest of the population. Which led the way in smoking cessation in the 60s, when we first heard about the scientific evidence. There's still plenty of examples of people who have. I just realised I've got the wrong slideshow on there, so don't worry, I'll crack on. So the physical health of doctors is very important. The smoking issue we've got on top of, but there's a number of things that we don't do, like we don't screen ourselves for the age-appropriate health screens. For example, all of you under 25 should be having an annual chlamydia screen. If you don't, then you're not up to the recommended guidelines and things like that. We find a lot of doctors are under-immunised, so don't bother about flu vaccines and things like that. Overseas travel is quite good, but immunisations are certainly, we're under-immunised like a lot of things. We tend to self-treat, self-investigate, self-diagnose. That's a very common thing. A lot of doctors like a sort of blended form of care where they have a GP for some things and they do some things themselves on the side. So there's quite a common model of care that we're seeing that doctors tend to prefer. But one thing we don't do very well is we don't recognise when we're unwell. We don't recognise the warning signs of when we're going down. When our colleagues are struggling, we don't seem to recognise that all that well. We can probably rationalise it too well. So we know that only maybe 50% of doctors have got their own GP. Now it's quite difficult to get a GP, a GP that people say it's a good GP. Because they're usually very busy and the waiting lists are quite long, but it's very important to look around now for a medical advisor you can trust, someone you can go to most of the time to discuss anything in confidence, and the value that having an advocate in the health system, somebody who can advocate for you and refer you out to their networks is a wonderful asset to have, much like a good financial advisor is for those who are about to earn some income. A lot of doctors too practice a sort of informal care where they're very happy to have a corridor consultation with a colleague or seek the advice of another colleague in a very informal way, perhaps over dinner, literally in the corridor or in the staff room. And that's kind of, we're guilty on both sides there by giving that advice, by asking for that advice. And neither of them is appropriate where the formal healthcare setting really allows all the boundaries to be maintained and the proper supports around the doctor to give the very best of care to the person. So it's very important to not seek that sort of informal healthcare through those informal pathways. Doctors' mental health, though, is also important. Anxiety is very, very common. A lot of people who go into medicine are mildly obsessional. They like things neat and tidy. They like things to be organised and ordered. And like I do, I like things. In fact, I'm just going to correct the lining up with this paper on the desk here. What it does, it intensifies those, medicine can intensify those obsessional characteristics. So if you're a little bit obsessional, you might find you become a lot more anxious. If things don't go your way, you might want to plan scenarios well ahead. If this happens, I'll do this. If that happens, I'll do that. Try and cover all the possibilities so that you're not taken by surprise. But that does predispose doctors to anxiety and burnout, that particular characteristic. Also, depression and suicide are not uncommon in medicine. Amongst the female graduates, suicide is twice the rate of the average population. There are a number of reasons for this. Certainly, the more isolated doctors are, the more likely they are to be estranged from colleagues, estranged from their peers. They're more likely to be prone to lack support. It's very important to have support around. So the rural doctors, perhaps overseas trained doctors, people who move from interstate, are particularly risky situations. So the other thing, of course, doctors who have means to kill themselves. So anaesthetists particularly know how to do it really well, playing the sleeve quickly, and there have been a number of instances of that over the years. So it's very important to be aware that there are certain risk groups who need that extra attention. Burnout is important, but there's a Canadian study that showed about 50% of the Canadian doctors who reported symptoms of burnout in the previous 12 months. They become cynical in their work. They become emotionally detached. Suffering from compassion fatigue. They just sick of seeing patients again, and they become cynical. Why on earth did I do medicine in the first place? I hate this job. These sort of comments you hear from people who were previously very passionate about their work. And it's very important to recognise that in ourselves and also in others. You see it also in doctors who focus on their income. Doctors who perhaps have lost their passion for medicine, often in mid-career. If I'm going to do this job, I'm going to certainly make money out of it. So the focus often comes on patient throughput and focus on procedures that pay well, and having a focus on the business side of medicine. Often doctors who do that are probably lost their passion for medicine. And it's important to remind ourselves when we go into medicine what you were passionate about, what you are passionate about now. For many of us, the passion comes from seeing a wonderful role model. I had a GP when I was young. I was top of it. And it may be that you've had a member of your family has had an illness, and you were determined to make sure that that doesn't happen to anybody else. You may be driven by a lot of other motivations, but it's easy in a busy life to forget what your passions are, what they were. A lot of doctors need time out to refresh themselves, have a, if you like, a gap year or a gap period where they get out of their work and rediscover what was really important to them. For many of them, it's they always want to make a difference, cure something, help the third world, work in a third world country. These are things that in a busy life, when you're bearing down in modern life, it's quite hard to extricate yourself from. But we bring lots of things into medicine. We bring high IQ, variable amounts of EQ. We bring in lots of resilience, maybe. That often builds in medicine. We bring in our motivations, our passions, and medicine can intensify those to the point where they really drive you forward, or they can destroy them and make you become cynical and burnt out. So it's very important to be aware that our skill sets that we bring into medicine aren't necessarily going to get us through. We often need a little bit more. We also bring in personality disorders into medicine. There might be obsession, there might be a bit narcissistic, where we think a separate set of rules should apply to us. Where having sex with the patient's actually fine, because I've got my own set of rules. Thank you very much. Being a very dependent personality means you may form closer relationships with patients, and again more likely to form relationships with patients. These are things that are regarded really poorly, of course, but it's important to realise that we all bring either a combination of those personalities into our work. And it's good to have a mentor, someone who you can talk to about that if you feel that the situation's getting a little bit out of hand. There are many barriers for doctors having health problems. Certainly doctors say they don't trust other doctors to keep confidentiality, an extraordinary claim. And I think in my experience that's not true, but there is a perception that maybe you can't trust your colleagues when it comes to your own health. So that's why I think doctors choose an informal pathway rather than going down the formal pathway. We also believe that our work's so important we can't see anyone unless it's after hours. All our patients come to see us in hours, but we haven't got the time to see people unless it's after hours, so we need some special consideration. In some careers that's true. So there are also barriers that doctors quite, not necessarily one barrier, but often multiple barriers as to why they can't go and see a doctor. And it's very important to have to be aware of that. So what we've done in the Doctors' Health program is to try and overcome those barriers by having after-hours appointments, doctors who will train, strong emphasis on confidentiality, and these very important things. The other thing when you get out in the real world is you find the expectations of people are very high. The expectations of yourself to be capable in your first year will be very high. You'll be disappointed if things go wrong. It's natural. Your colleagues around you will expect you to work hard like they are. Your employer will expect you to work hard. Give that little bit extra. Most of the health system runs on love. So get ready to love the health system to the point it needs it. The medical board have expectations as well that you'll be resilient, you'll be well behaved, that you'll be trained, you'll treat people appropriately and professionally at all times. And again, these are often the reasons why doctors come before the medical board, because they might abuse a patient, they might show signs of distress or duress, and it's very easy in a stressful situation to do that, and there'll be some ridiculous complaints made about doctors that have been thrown out because they're just, in the setting of it occurred, they're just absolutely ridiculous. So the war's not necessarily out to get you, but they're there to sort of protect the public. They got going in 1842 in South Australia, 6 years after the landing, and the Governor High Marsh didn't take them long to regulate quacks and charlatans in society. So there are plenty of those people out there, but they certainly take an interest in doctors who show pretty much evidence of three things: sex, drugs, rock and roll. So sex with patients is a no-no, drugs while you're working is a no-no, and rock and roll is reference to your behaviour or your capacity as a doctor, your skills. If they're wobbly, then that's when the medical board generally find patients complain and they take an interest in it. The three things already remember, the three images I've got which I think are very powerful. One's a tent. I imagine all people as a tent with the ropes that hold people up, hold the tent up and support. It's very important that when you go into your next year that you will often lose a lot of contact with your colleagues. At the moment it's typical to to go through very intense medical school training and to scatter like a bomb when you find you're in now working different workplaces and you're shifts and you don't really see each other much. So your supports are very important. And often, again, in a busy life, you have to give up maybe your contact with your church. Maybe you may give up contact with the band you play with or the sports team. And those supports are like the ropes in your tent. So you may find next year that some of those supports that you relied on are cut. And it's easy when the burden of work and life bears down on it, you may find it a bit of a struggle. It's very important to maintain those supports through your friendships, through your Facebook and other things like that, and to maintain your sport, actively your sporting your interests and your hobbies. Terribly, terribly important. That image I want you to use a wheelbarrow. Again, you see people walking around like they're carrying a really heavy wheelbarrow, sort of burden patients and a burden doctor. I've had myself in general practice, people who come in and they're carrying their wheelbarrow full of bricks, their wheelbarrow full of troubles. They sit in and they dump it like this, and then they start to throw their bricks into your wheelbarrow as fast as they can. I've got this, I've got that, I've got pain here, I've on the top of it. And you feel this, the weight of this, your wheelbarrow being burdened by those who dump their problems onto you. So medicine, people are dumping onto the doctor. You've got such capacity that you'll be able to cope with anything. And it's very easy to think, my goodness, I've got too much to do now, I've got too much, this is too heavy to carry. You need to pause frequently, have breaks and cups of coffee and pause. You see people struggling and the day gets longer and longer. They end up having to work late, so-called presenteeism, where they're just not coping because they've got so much to do. The problem often is that they've been dumped on. People have dumped stuff on, do this, do that, can you do this for me? And people can't say no. So a lot of doctors are very, have great difficulty in saying no, because we're meant to help people. So being helpful often contradicts saying no, and therefore it's easy to be dumped on into a wheelbarrow full of other people's bricks. So the art of survival is to dispose of those other bricks as quickly as you can. That's a nice image to remember. The third one I want you to remember is a battery. I think we, in medicine, we give out a huge amount out to others. We're giving out energy all day. We give out help, assistance, advice, consultations. We give education. We give lots of stuff out to patients. And you get the pressure with some people that they'll suck up as much of that as they can get. And it's like an energy transfer across two batteries. You have to be aware that by the end of the day it can be really drained. And you need to recharge frequently during the day to stay charged. And that may be from having a break, meditating, thinking about things. I used to coach soccer up in the hills, and during some consultations I would find myself thinking, this is while the people were talking to me, it sounds really bad, and I say, I think I'll put Jack on the wing on Saturday. And I'll go back to the consultation again, because sometimes it was just necessary to space out for I hope it was any of your parents. But anyway. But it is important to have a break. We go to the toilet, it gives you 2 or 3 minutes to, if you like, sit down and think about things. Go to the toilet, drink lots of water, you go to the toilet quite a bit. Probably ends up 10, 15, 20 minutes a day where you can sit by yourself and not be bothered. So there are ways to get out of the toilet. But I think the key thing, so I think the key things are there's 4 what I call existential needs. 4 things that are really important in surviving. One is love. Right? Love, hope, meaning, and control. Love is where you've got to have somebody you love, something you love, a dog, a cat, you know, someone. And it's also important to be loved by somebody. I think having that's about energy transfer. A lot of doctors fall in love with medicine. They start in love with medicine, and they love it so much that they come home to find that their family's learned to live without them, that they've got no love in their life from other people. So it's very important to have not just a love of medicine, but a love of everything other than medicine as well. Hope means having something to look forward to. You should always have a holiday plan, something to look forward to, something you're working towards. Very, very important. Don't just be working and think, why am I doing this? I've got nothing to look forward to. Meaning is something a lot of people have they wake up in the morning and they've got no meaning in their lives. They don't feel they're doing something meaningful. There's nothing more meaningful than being a doctor. It's the highest calling. And your lives will be full of meaning forever. The last one is control. One problem with control is it's not easy to be in control all your life. You'll find next year when you go into the hospital system that you may feel completely out of control. It's a very common complaint from doctors in training that the loss of control, you don't have control over the system, creates a lot of disharmony and dissatisfaction in the workplace. So be very aware of the need to learn the job quickly and do things. And if you're not in control of work, at least be in control of your life outside work. And don't forget the basics. Certainly make sure you eat, you sleep, you drink water, you go to the toilet. You don't over-medicate yourself with things. You don't have too much caffeine. Caffeine will intensify your anxiety as well as anything will do. So just to wind up, I think valuing your health is very, very important. You'll struggle if you're unwell. Friends both inside and outside medicine are important. I've got friends who are medical and non-medical, and I enjoy them all, and they add a lot to my life. It's important to have non-medical friends to bring us back to earth. There's some great people in this world. They're not all doctors. There's some wonderful people out there, intelligent, clever, who do wonderful, meaningful work. Doctors, so you'll discover those as you go through how great these people are. And also remember, we're in the people business. If you don't like people, you're probably in the wrong job. But the people business is what we're about, and it's important to enjoy that. Enjoy the stories that people tell. I've learned some wonderful things about the way people cope with extraordinary duress by listening to people. If you skip over that, focus on the medical symptoms, you're missing out. Ask them how they survived that thing, how they got over the death of their child, why they migrated from Europe, what happened in the Second World War. You'll hear these incredible stories that will empower you and give you enormous wisdom. And one thing you'll do in medicine is we acquire wisdom prematurely. We hear so many life stories from people that we acquire such wisdom. You can look at people and you can understand within a very short time where they're coming from. It's a great skill, and it's the skill we develop as in our profession. But the key thing I want you to remember too is that you've got a wonderful future. The future's bright. Who knows what robotics, what nanotechnology, what all those things will do. How medicine will be practiced in 5 years, let alone 10 years or 20 years. And a lovely quote I got out of a song, which I think I've often remembered, is that it's been your fate from birth to make your mark upon this earth. So what will be your mark?
Thank you so much for volunteering your time, Dr. Sexton, and sharing your insights with us. Hopefully we can remember some of these messages next year when we're struggling through that.
Yes,
All right. So